Hi, I'm Movie Man. I'm an octopus who reviews movies, and today's review is going to be on. So, I had known that this movie was coming out, and yeah, it wasn't really a film which I had very high expectations for, honestly. I remember because originally this movie was going to be called They Listen, um, and it was going to be released last year, August 25th, but then I think it got delayed to this year, August 30th, but then when the strikes happened in Hollywood last year and Sony decided to delay Kraven the Hunter, they gave us this movie's release date, and this film got delayed indefinitely, so it just was kind of in limbo. It didn't have a release date, but then sometime later, Sony decided to delay Kraven the Hunter again, and so obviously now it's coming out December 13th, and so after they delayed Kraven again, they decided to give this film its release date. Yeah, they actually gave its release date back, but even though they had schedules to be released August 30th, they didn't even bother to put up a trailer for this movie until July 3rd. Just a month before its release, they decided to put up the trailer. So yeah, this movie probably didn't seem to have the best production if it was constantly just getting delayed and stuff, and with the release date being changed and being brought back, and they renames the movie afrAID or afrAID, however you want to call it. Yeah, honestly, from the trailer that we got, my expectations for this movie were honestly very low. This movie just did not look very scary at all. They literally just made this film look like the most generic horror film ever. They literally just made this look like a Megan ripoff. Ironic, since it's literally from the same studio, Blumhouse. As I've seen it for myself, what did I think? Yeah, oh boy. This is not gonna be a very positive review, I can tell you that. Yeah, this film definitely did live up to those trailers, sadly. Oh boy. Let's get into it. In terms of cinematography, I guess it's not that badly shot. It's not a very unpleasant movie to look at, but it is kind of shot in that typical, kind of Sony format, the kind of way that the kind of look of a lot of Sony's movies. That it's an okay look, but there's nothing really all that special to say about it. So overall the cinematography is kind of just okay. The editing also not really anything that interesting to say about it. There is kind of one short scene in the film with some kind of decent editing. I kind of did like some of the editing in that one scene. But yeah, overall there's just nothing really that interesting to say about the editing here. In terms of the film's pace now, this is actually like probably the shortest movie I've seen this year now. Yeah, it's tied between this movie and Drive Away Dolls for being the shortest movie that I've seen this year at only 84 minutes. So, you know, at least the movie is only 84 minutes, but I'm gonna be honest, this movie actually felt a bit longer than that. Like, I just found this movie quite a slog to get through. Like, this film just felt like it was going on for a bit too long, and I was just thinking to myself, like, when is this movie gonna end already? Because it just seems to go on for too long. There were just some scenes which just seems to honestly drag out, and yeah, honestly, it was just a real, slog of a movie. So yeah, overall, the pace in this movie was just not very good either. In terms of the sound and music, nothing really interesting to say there either. Like, I mean, the sound effects are very generic, the music is very generic, and there's even a music track, and like, it just feels so tonally out of place for the rest of the film. Yeah, honestly, I just did not like the sound of music. It was just so generic and bland and forgettable, so nothing interesting to say there. In terms of the characters and the performances from the cast, like, I won't get like too much into a lot of the characters, but I will say I just didn't get attached to the characters at all in this movie. Like, I mean, the main family, I just could not get attached to them at all as characters, and like, even the main character Curtis, the dad, like, I mean, in fairness to John Cho, he's a very good actor. Like, if you've seen Searching, he's really good in that movie, yeah. He really tried, but he was just given nothing to work with here. Like, even kind of some of the other characters, like his wife Meredith and the 3 kids, I couldn't get attached to them at all as characters. Like, they kind of tried to do something with the mom character Meredith that, could be kind of interesting, but the way it's done is just so poor. I'm unable to care about her as a character, and like, I mean, Katherine, Waterson, and also the 3 kid actors, again, they're just given nothing to work with here. And like, the film's main villain, the AI, yeah, I just didn't like her as a villain. Like, I mean, she was literally just such a discount Megan. Like, but yeah, she just does not have that same level of fun that Megan had. She's just honestly a very poor horror villain. Like, what they even tried to do in the third act was just so bad, so confusing and stuff. And Like, I honestly feel so bad for Havana Rose Lucas. She really tried here, but again, she was just given nothing to work with. Like, oh boy, this was quite the step down from Bottoms, let's just say. Um, Even kind of a lot of the supporting characters, because we do have some kind of notable supporting names in this, like Keith Carradine, David Dastmalchian, Riki Lindhome, and yeah, the movie just gives them absolutely nothing to work with. Overall, I didn't like the characters, I didn't like the acting either, but to be fair, I just do feel really bad for this cast because you have some genuinely solid actors in this cast, but yeah, they are just given like absolutely nothing to work with at all. So yeah, overall very poor characters and acting. Um, in terms of the movie's plot, like now, I mean, yeah, the movie just has like a really, generic plot synopsis with this family testing out this AI house assistant. Like, I mean, it is a very familiar concept. As I said, this is literally from the same studio as Megan. Like, they're making this movie literally just the year after Megan and stuff. And also, I kind of have a bit of a theory with this film. Like, given how it was originally gonna be called They Listen, and it was supposed to be released way earlier, but it just had a few delays and stuff, and not to mention even with some of the talent involved, I can't help but wonder that like this movie started off as something kind of different, something more interesting, but then after Megan was very successful for Blumhouse, Sony just kind of went and kind of fiddled with it and kind of turned it into an AI horror movie, or at least that's just a theory that I have, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case, especially since this is Sony we're talking about. Um, but like, oh boy, this has just got to be like the most generic studioified horror film I've ever seen. Like, oh boy, this movie, it's so funny how it's called afrAID because I did not feel afraid once during this film. Like, I will say, if this movie genuinely scares you, then never watch a horror film in your life because, oh boy, like, it's actually just shocking how poorly they did the scares in this film. Like, at least with Night Swim and Imaginary, they kind of try to be a bit scary, even if they did fail, honestly. But oh boy, they just didn't even try with this one. Like, this movie is not scary in the slightest, and like, there were times where I genuinely forgot that this was even supposed to be a horror movie because, oh boy, like, it's just so unscary and stuff. Like, I find it so funny how over in here in Ireland we got this movie the same weekend as Odyssey, because it's literally just night and day with both of those films. Like, Odyssey was genuinely a great horror film that tries to be scary. I actually succeeded with it, but this movie just didn't even try. And even then, Odyssey has, genuinely funny moments. I was laughing during this movie, but mostly it was for all the wrong reasons because like I just found this movie funny with how like it just didn't even try. And not to mention it's just such a confusing plot, like especially during like the film's third act. Oh my god. Yeah, like the plot really is just a mess with how just unscary the whole thing is, and yeah, again, I just can't get attached to any of these characters. Not to mention the dialogue. Oh my god. There were lines of dialogue during this film where I was actually genuinely cringing at how terrible they were. Like, I mean, now I don't like to, make this argument because, it's a very lazy and honestly kind of a bit of an insulting argument, but it kind of actually feels like AI wrote this movie with how utterly terrible the dialogue is, how terrible the plot is, yeah. Overall, a very bad plot, could not care for the characters, not scary in the slightest. Dialogue, absolute crap. Oh yeah, the plot was very, very bad. And in terms of the narrative structure, like, I mean, the main plot with this one is, Curtis, he works this company and they get him and his family to test out the AI and like, I mean, we get scenes where the AI is kind of trying to be all nice with this family and stuff, even though you can clearly tell, she has, like, evil motives. I didn't find it scary, and I couldn't care for the characters, I couldn't get attached. The dialogue certainly did not help in the slightest, yeah. Honestly, I just really could not care. I was just waiting for them to end the movie, and some of like the kind of subplot with this whole company that created AI, like I couldn't get attached with that whole subplot either. It was just very generic and very poorly done, and then during the film's climax a bunch of stuff happens, like oh boy, that ending. Like, this movie has genuinely one of the most confusing climaxes I've ever seen. I just still don't understand that ending with how utterly confusing it was, yeah. Overall, just a very poor narrative structure with how it was done. Like, oh god, it was so bad. So, yeah, overall, afraid or afrAID or whatever. I'm saying this is the worst movie I've seen so far this year. Like, this will probably be my worst movie at the end of the year. Like, oh boy, it's gonna have to take a really bad movie to come out to just beat this one, because this was absolutely terrible. Like, literally, I mean, there were some kind of small things to like, but I mean, for the most part, it had bad pacing. I couldn't care for the characters. The dialogue was absolute trash. And I just did not find it scary in the slightest. Yeah, it was just a very crap plot, not to mention. Like, overall, this movie was just terrible. Yeah, so with this movie, Night Swim and Imaginary, Blumhouse are 3 for 3 this year. We have Speak No Evil coming out there next weekend as of me recording this. Hopefully Speak No Evil is actually a solid film, because oh boy, Blumhouse are gonna have to pick things up next year, but while I didn't like Night Swim or Imaginary, this was easily the worst of the three. oh boy, this was terrible. The worst movie I've seen so far this year. I just don't recommend this movie at all. Go watch a good movie, a good horror film. Just don't bother with this one. So with that, I am going to give afrAID, whatever the hell you call this stupid film, I'm going to give it a 1 out of 10. So with that, I'll see you guys next time, and bye.